Welcome to NDTR Spotlight, a show where we highlight former and current NDTRs. And NDTR, if you don't know, stands for Nutritionist Diet Technician Registered. They also go by the credential DTR, which stands for Diet Technician Registered. In order to become an NDTR, you have to graduate from an accredited program, take an exam, and participate in continual education. Welcome to NDTR Spotlight. I'm your host, Mary Lorraine. Today we have a dietitian on our spotlight because of the work she's doing with dietitians and diet technicians on career advancements. Brooke has her bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics and a master's in nutritional sciences. She's the CEO of her own private practice, Bitchin' Nutrition, and has recently started this career coaching, specifically again for people in the field of dietetics. So this is an interview to watch if you have not thought about your career, or if you're wondering about how you can progress in the career in the field of dietetics as an NDTR. Brooke is going to give us some fun little tips, tricks, and also resources that you can use for free initially in your advancement of your career. So let's meet Brooke. Brooke, thanks so much for being here.
Good morning, Marie.
Good morning. Good morning. So before we jump into everything you're doing as a career coach for dietetics, how did you enter the field of nutrition and dietetics to begin with?
So I actually fell in love with our field a long time ago when I grew up in Indiana, so I have a really good basketball jump shot. And I went to Purdue University in 8th grade for a food science 4-H workshop. And we did a vitamin C titration, like looking at all the different amounts of vitamin C in orange juice. And I totally geeked out and I fell in love with this field. And then my mom said she never could get me out of grocery stores because I would just be looking at all the nutrition labels like when I was little. So I think the field kind of found me.
I love that. That's super fun. So then I see you have Bitchin' Nutrition. So what made you start that? That looks like it's a private practice. Is that correct?
So in grad school, I had a really good professor/preceptor in my dietetic internship. And she said to me, Brooke, no one's going to listen to you unless you can make nutrition cool, fun, and sexy. And I actually had the idea for Bitchin' Nutrition when I was an undergrad at Purdue University. And I was like, done. I got this. You know, because bitchin', the slang is cool, fun, exciting. So I wanted something a little bit edgier. And it just was born in 2009, right after grad school. I started my private practice, which is kind of, early on. Most people wait a few years, but I was ready. I wanted to take in those clients.
A lot of people say that you need the experience. That's really cool that you dove right into that. But there's probably so much we want to talk about that. But let's go fast forward 2009. Now you're doing this career coaching. So what made you decide to start going down this avenue?
So it's really interesting. And I always tell even my clients this, I work with dietetic interns and students because I'm also in education. And I remember talking to my professor when I was an undergrad. And I was like, I really don't want to coach the next generation and teach the next generation of, nutrition and dietetics. And so I think one of my main messages to my clients and just my students is have an open mind. Our nutrition and dietetics profession is so vast with possibilities that you never know where you're going to end up. And don't be afraid to try something new. Like after I worked in an outpatient setting for 5 years at a hospital, one of my colleagues from grad school was like, do you want to teach now? And I was like, you know what? I think I want to try it. So I started doing education. And along with that, I noticed that I was really mentoring my students to find jobs, post-graduation. A lot of my colleagues were having me, help them with their resumes and learning how to pitch themselves for job interviews. So I was just doing this stuff to help. And I really fell in love with helping my peers and helping advance the profession. And so right before COVID started, I decided to have this side arm on my business and do Bitchin' Nutrition career coaching. And then over COVID, I felt like everybody was revamping their resumes and it just kind of boomed, which was really exciting because it gave me something really exciting to work on. And I really love giving back to our field.
Yes, and it looks like you have a lot of experience teaching and then your private practice. And I found you because you had a get to know your niche in nutrition quiz, and I took it, and I thought that was so cool because it was made specific for people in nutrition, and it was very helpful. The questions, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of see where this came from, and I got like PR and like communications. I'm like, oh, that's like perfect for me. So I want to talk quickly about your Instagram here. Just looking over at like what you put and what you stand for. A lot of your posts are like, I have your Instagram on the screen just so you know. But like this idea of your career, you don't stay stagnant. You have to strategize your moves and the job placements, like thinking about where you're going next. And for me, when I saw that, I was like, wow, you don't really, that's not really taught in school. Like I didn't have that privilege of being taught that, of like strategizing your job. So what is like for a DTR specifically, why is that relevant? Why do you need to think about what job next and not staying stagnant?
I mean, it's so important. I feel like nowadays most people do not go into a field or niche or a job and they're living there for 20 plus years. And I mean, if you do like a business and marketing career and things like that, people are constantly moving around to elevate and advance their career along the way. So it's okay, because you never want to stay at a job so long where that passion is gone. Like, so if it takes you to move to a different job position to elevate your skills and advance your career, please know that you can do that. I mean, I remember even in my dietetic internship, and I think maybe this kind of was an indicator that I was going to go into career coaching for nutrition and dietetics, because I remember seeing all these dietitians that have been in their roles for 30 years, and you could just tell that fire that ignited their passion and their spirit kind of sizzled out. And I was like, that's not going to be me. I don't want to go. And I call this with my clients, not to sound horrible, but like the NDTR and dietitian graveyard. Like, I don't want any of my clients to end up there. Like, you have the option to progress your career at any time you want to. And there's so many areas in our field. I mean, whether it's food service, community, PR, clinical, private practice. I mean, really the sky is the limit for both dietitians and NDTRs. You just have to be willing to make those connections, and see where your career can go next. But it does take a little bit of planning on your part and some strategizing. And that's where I come in as a career coach.
A lot of DTRs, we have this problem of like having confidence with the job, that like just going out for interview and people not knowing what we are. And I know on Instagram you have like, what's the number one thing that you're missing in your job search, and you have like confidence and things like that. Can you talk to that idea of entering an interview and doing well in that interview?
It's really interesting because, again, in dietetics, I feel like we're such the helping population. We're more humble as a profession and professionals overall. We're not talking about ourselves. But when you get to that interview, and so many of my clients are saying that when they get to that interview, it's just so awkward for them to really be able to showcase their value and their experiences. But if you're not able to sell yourself and your professional brand, how are you going to show that employer that you're ready for that position? So that's where it's really important to know your value, know your skills, what you're capable, and what you can bring to the table in any role or position.
Yes. Okay, you used a fancy word there. You said professional brand. Can you elaborate on what that is and why that's relevant?
So nowadays, I mean, everybody's got a social media platform, and you are selling yourself daily. You don't realize it through emails, whether you're adding proper punctuation in your emails when you're networking with somebody or talking to coworkers, etc. Are you properly addressing the person that you're talking to through emails or a LinkedIn connection message? And then on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, that's all a part of your personal brand. So when you think of our nutrition dietetics profession, we are a really small community. So everything you put out into the universe daily, it's affecting your personal brand in a positive, neutral, or negative way. So you just have to think, what kind of image am I putting out into the universe, and how, is that going to help me get my next position, my next job, advance my career overall?
Yeah, that's so important to keep that in mind. And so it makes me, I have this question. A lot of nutrition students, DTRs, dietitians, they go on Instagram and they have an Instagram page about food and food blogging. What are your thoughts on navigating that and using that to help you with career advancement?
I think it's a great place to start because, again, our NDTR students, dietitians overall, we have to combat all that nutrition misinformation out there. And traditionally in the past, we were not the individuals on social media and outselling our personal brand. So getting that confidence, going back to demonstrating your value, showcasing your worth is very important. And it's better to start than be perfect. And even I have a hard time with that, putting things out into the universe. I want things to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist, but you just have to start. And sometimes it's just getting past that fear of, you actually know a lot. We went through a lot of schooling to get to where we're at now. So don't be afraid to show your value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's helpful. So this idea of DTR and dietitian graveyard and moving past, and so in school you're taught, like you said, the 3 different categories, and you're bringing out there's other areas of nutrition you can get into. So for a DTR, how do you know if you're in that graveyard?
I mean, I would say if you are really dreading going to work every day and there's nothing within that role that is exciting you, are you learning any new skills? If you're not learning any new skills, you don't feel valued, you don't feel like the salary or or benefits are worth your time. I mean, time is our most valuable asset. Most people don't think about that, but if your time is not valued appropriately, you're not going to put forth that great performance. And it really does showcase and come through. I have to say, like dietitians, when you see, and even NDTRs, when you know that they're going to another position or they really don't want to be at that job anymore, like their performance declines, and you never want to stay at a job when your performance starts declining. Because again, we are part of a small network. Mm-hmm. So if you get to that point, then your personal brand is going to be affected by it. Mm-hmm. So if you're feeling like that fire, that passion is kind of dwindling, it's really time to look for a new role that's going to fulfill you more.
I think that really resonates with people in this field because it's such a passion-led field. Like you don't join this because, for money, you join it for the enjoyment of it. So I know DTRs are going to be like, okay, but where are the jobs? So how does that conversation go with the clients you work with?
So most of my NDTR clients are in the food service space, like the community public health space, and or kind of like, again, maybe PR or doing some other like jobs that are kind of the newer trends. The small amount of clients that I have are in the clinical setting. And that's where the clinical setting long-term, I feel like is where you might hit that glass ceiling, because to progress in the clinical space, unfortunately, it seems like most of those positions to advance, you do need to have your RDN. But with the other ones where it's like food service, for example, I mean, and even community, working at a WIC setting, I've seen so many of my clients, they started at WIC and then they moved up to the manager at the WIC facility that they're at. So I think food service and community are so much easier to progress your career. Clinical is a little bit trickier with that NDTR, unfortunately.
That's still super helpful to know, especially if like you're thinking about, do I want to advance to a dietitian? If you're interested in clinical, maybe like what you're saying, that might be something, but this other 2 categories are beneficial for just the DTR.
For sure. And again, if you're struggling with, if you're an NDTR and you're struggling with figuring out what niche that you want to kind of explore, I mean, definitely feel free to take my Find Your Niche quiz. It also applies to NDTRs, and it's on my Instagram page in like the Linktree section. So feel free to do that. And that will hopefully give you a better idea of where is your passion? What area of nutrition dietetics do you feel like you're going to be most fulfilled in? And then you can explore that area moving forward.
Yeah, that definitely lets you know why the niche is important. To know your passion, to identify your passion, and then to go into that. So when you're thinking about a resume for your clients, what are the things? A lot of people, there's like new resume templates being come out. Some are plain, some are really fancy, and it's really confusing to navigate. What is your like give off advice for, a resume for a DTR to put out there?
So it depends. That's the hard thing. So if you're kind of exploring your network, and I call them like company ambassadors. If you have a company ambassador at a food service setting, a clinical setting, a community setting, and you want to float your resume to them, then you can do a little bit more of the fancy formatting. But if you're applying online, then it needs to be more simplified, concise, and able to go through what's called the applicant tracking system, so ATS system. So that's like a computer generated system that weeds out all these resumes and looks for keywords. So if your application doesn't pass through this system, kind of like Monopoly doesn't pass go, you're not collecting the $200, unfortunately, you're never going to land on that hiring manager's desk. So that's a completely different type of resume. You have like the fun formatting. I feel like that's what I advise my clients to use more so for their network. If they're going in person, virtually meeting somebody, et cetera, having that company ambassador. But if you're applying online, then you need that ATS friendly resume. And it has to be filled with keywords that are specific to the job you're applying for. Otherwise, again, you're never going to get through that computerized system.
Wow, that is a good little tip right there, because that's something that I wasn't aware of. And that's, yeah, you want to have your resume be seen. So, wow, that's super helpful. So, we mentioned having an Instagram and how that's important for your networking or your branding. What are your thoughts on LinkedIn and getting active on that social media platform?
Yeah, so LinkedIn has been an amazing platform to connect with other individuals in, again, nutrition dietetics, even outside of our area of practice. Maybe you can explore jobs outside of our nutrition dietetics realm, if that's also within your passion. So I've even been offered jobs through LinkedIn or like contacted, like, please, apply for this job. So it's really just, again, setting up your personal brand on LinkedIn. What does that LinkedIn banner look like? So the banner is kind of like the spot above your profile photo, and you can personalize it. So you can make a fun photo, you can put a personal brand logo there, just whatever is going to captivate that person to draw them in to learn more about you and your professional brand and your experience and your skills. So setting up LinkedIn to showcase, again, your value, because showcasing your value is really important, is a great way to network, explore job opportunities. I even reached out just the other day to somebody in the clinical space because I am really fascinated with her career. And I just wanted to learn more about other options for dietitians and NDTRs because I work, and try to help as a career coach. So I invited her to go on a virtual, coffee date with me. And I'm going to send her like a coffee gift card just to connect. So again, the value in building relationships is huge. And you cannot overlook it because your network is more likely to get you your next job than applying to 100 positions online. It is your network. So don't be afraid to reach out and connect with individuals and just learn more about all the opportunities in nutrition dietetics.
Yeah, don't be afraid. That's helpful. Networking can be a little bit of daunting for a lot of people though. So what's the best approach to reaching out to someone on LinkedIn or social media, on person? What is your thoughts on that?
I mean, the best approach is just to be genuine. I mean, you don't want to waste anybody's time. So if you're sending like a kind of a spammy message, like thanks for connecting, and like, I don't know, I feel like I get a lot of those sometimes just from people outside of our field. But if you're genuine and say, I really am interested in your pathway as an NDTR, I would love to learn more about your niche in nutrition dietetics. You know, would you be available to connect and maybe have a virtual coffee date? My treat. I think that's very genuine. And most people in our profession, we actually really like helping each other out. You know, NDTRs, students, interns, dietitians, we really like supporting each other. I found that overwhelmingly just by talking with my peers that we want to make sure each other succeeds. So reaching out, being genuine, having a clear like ask, you know, what are you wanting from that conversation? Are you wanting to volunteer your time to figure out if that niche is a good fit for you? That's always a good way to explore a niche. You know, I'm interested in the community slash public health setting as an NDTR? Are there any, you know, side projects that I can help you with so I can learn if more about this niche and determine if it's a good fit for me? Like that could be a good way to connect with somebody and offer your help and time to learn more. So what can you give that person through this meeting? What do you want to learn? Again, going in with a clear expectation of that virtual coffee date or quick phone call or Zoom meeting is beneficial because again, you don't want to waste somebody's time if they're, you know, taking time out of their day to connect with you. So again, be genuine, make sure that you can, what are you going to give to that conversation? And what is your clear ask? I think those are three very helpful tips when kind of reaching out to network.
Yeah, that is so helpful, having that purpose and then also offering something in return as opposed to just expecting to take for connection and networking. So in relation to that networking, I'm curious to hear what is your opinion on joining the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics and DPG groups for that networking aspect? Do you think it's something that is dependent on the person or worth the investment?
I still believe that, you know, being a part of the nutrition or Academy of Nutrition Dietetics is very, very beneficial. And if people want to change anything like NDTR, students, interns, dietitians, if there's anything within the Academy that they want improved, I would say volunteer. I mean, there's so many positions that I'm like, wow, I really wish that, you know, new students and new dietitians would have this staggered due rate. So I actually was selected as part of the new member value committee. And as a part of that committee, I put on the table for a vote to have dietitians within less than 5 years have a staggered due rate so that we wouldn't have to pay the higher fee right out. That was one of my things that I was not happy with as a member. I got on a committee, I volunteered my time, and we changed it. And there's positions within the Academy for NDTR specifically. So I would, you know, really recommend if there's something that you feel like we can improve as a collective profession together, an association, volunteer, be the change. You know,
Yeah.
I'd rather be the change than be the complainer. What can you give to our profession and make it better?
Yes, that is such a good. I also really like that staggering thing. So thank you for speaking up and doing that. That's helpful for the pocket. So one more question before we close out the interview. What does it look like to work alongside a career coach? How is that beneficial for somebody?
So my process is, and I really am a fan of, because I'm in the education space, it's not that I want to just redo a resume for you or give you the exact lines for an interview or do your LinkedIn profile. I want to help make sure that you are confident enough that you're learning the tools that I give you to do it long after we work together. And then if you need some help in the future, then we work together again. And I think of myself as like a career coach for the whole career journey. So wherever you're at, that's where I'm here to support you. So I have some packages, and both of my packages include a 30-minute career coaching strategizing call. And that's where we're going to explore your needs, your wants, your skills, your experiences. What are your non-negotiables for a job? And having that blueprint is so important for then doing job searching, maybe applying for a promotion within your job, getting that interview, maybe doing a little bit of negotiation for the salary range post-interview. So all of that content that you learn, and I feel like it's like the aha moment in that career strategizing call, you're going to use with you long-term. I actually just got an email the other day from one of my past clients, and she's like, I'm still referring to my, strategizing workbook that we worked together on. So that was like really exciting to hear. And then after we have our 30-minute career strategizing call, then we do a deeper dive in 60 minutes in a one-on-one coaching call to either improve your resume, practice for an interview. I've also helped dietitians kind of build their own positions. NDTRs, I've helped come up with like networking scripts together. So we'll come up with networking scripts, like maybe you do want to reach out to a dietitian or another NDTR or a dietary manager, and you don't know how to navigate that space. We'll, in the hour intensive call, work on your networking strategizing together. So it's just really making sure you feel secure and supported with whatever stage in your career you're at. That's where I want to be a part of your journey.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That sounds like it's super helpful. You like they're talking about salary and talking to people and building your own job. That's amazing. So how do people find you online and sign up for your services?
The easiest place to connect with me right now is on my Instagram at Bitch and Nutrition. And I have, again, you can direct message me. It's a good, way to just reach out really quick. And then basically from my direct messages, if you ever want to schedule a quick discovery call for 15 minutes to learn more about my services or just kind of bounce your career goals or aspirations off of me, I'm more than happy to do that as well.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to leave with our DTR audience?
I would just say again that the field of nutrition and dietetics is so packed with possibilities. Don't be afraid to step outside of the bubble, really challenge yourself and make your career whatever you want to make it. It's not cookie cutter, right? We always talk about that for our clients. No career is cookie cutter. It's whatever you want to make it to be.
I love that. Think outside the box. Thank you everyone so much for watching. If you took anything away from this, give it a thumbs up and comment down below one thing that you're going to start doing when you're thinking about your career advancement. Also, we talked a lot about networking, and we have just started a Facebook group for DTRs for online creativity. So if you have a blog post, if you're posting on Instagram, if you're posting recipes or videos, anything of that nature, this is just another place where you can share that and hopefully get helpful feedback from NDTRs in the field, collaborate with NDTRs in the field, and also just get encouragement from NDTRs. So make sure you check out that Facebook group. Join if you're interested. We would love to have you, and we will see you in our next interview.